so BMW have a driving experience centre along with Alpina down at Goodwood. And I was lucky enough to be invited down to one of their press experience days, which is effectively what their driving experience is. So you go down to Goodwood, firstly, which is just, I mean, for any of you who haven't been down to that part of the world, it's just incredible. It's a beautiful area all around Goodwood. The surrounding roads, the countryside, the houses, the pubs, everything. It's just a stunning, stunning place. And Goodwood itself, the Goodwood estate and the circuit, etc., the racecourse, and you know, it's just beautiful. It's just a very special place to be, and it's where the Goodwood revival takes place. So it's worth a visit regardless of whether you go down for a driving experience or not, and most of the time, unless there's a sort of event being held there, you can just drive in and have a quick sort of nose around. Now BMW, yeah, so they got this driving experience down there. I was lucky enough to spend a good 2.5 hours trying out their range down there. So we had a driver's briefing, which in fact we had the legend Tiff Needell down there, and it was so nice to, I've seen him before, but I've never even gone up to him or spoke to him, you know, not embarrassed myself, but obviously we're part of the gang there, so I got to talk to him and joke with him, and you know, they always say never meet your heroes, and he's always been my hero, and I met him and I wasn't disappointed. He was just exactly what I thought he would be, and just a really nice guy. Right, so we've signed on, got our driver's pass there, just on the start-finish straight here at Goodwood. And yeah, the circuit is drying out. It's quite warm and humid, so I can imagine it's going to dry out pretty quick. Yeah, really excited about getting out in all the M cars and giving him a thrash around the circuit.
But the great thing is it's actually now exactly the same shape as Sterling Moss and Jim Clark drove around. So the beauty of Goodwood is we're actually driving around this historic circuit as it was back in those days, whereas all the other modern tracks have been short-cutted, chicaned, ruined, wrecked. For the words of safety. So the whole point of bringing you here is not to turn you all into racing drivers, but to let you drive on a lovely country road without any blue lights chasing and speed limits slowing you down. Also, don't even come the other way. Hopefully, don't come the other way. We do have the 1936 British Touring Car Champion Tim Harvey, who won the series for BMW. It was a 328 BMW or something, probably pre-war. You'll all have instructors with you, again, not to try and make you racing drivers, but merely to help you understand the product, understand which way the next corner goes. If they can see any obvious wrongs in your driving habits, they might tell you to do this and do that. And it'll be amazing how fast you can go if you have their confidence. So the whole idea is just to follow their lead, and they'll let you go quicker and quicker and try all the different cars. You'll get to drive with 2 hours, well, a bit less because you bastards didn't get up on time. But of course there are some rules and regulations, so now I'll hand you over to that nasty man, Chief Instructor Christian Van, to just run you through the rules, and I'll be here wandering around all day long. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
So that was great, and then we went out on track. All the instructors there are sort of current, you know, race car drivers, young and old, but they've all got massive talent. If you went there, you know, without ever being to one before, and this is certainly what I was like a few years ago when I went to the Porsche one, I was expecting myself to turn up, because I'm quite, you know, I'm a decent driver. I'm by no means a professional driver, but I'm a decent driver. So I turned up thinking they're gonna see me drive and just try and sort of slow me down or pin me back a little bit. They teach you how to go faster, you know, how to make the most out of a lap, if you like, you know, not come screaming into a turn too late on the brakes, miss the apex or whatever, or come in with the car all unsettled. You know, they teach you how to be smooth and how to make the most out of exiting a corner and make the most of the next straight, etc. And it's a really nice, it's an adrenaline rush, but you're doing it all in a sort of controlled environment. The other thing I did, which I don't think you'd do if you went down there as the experience, going out for a hot lap in the Mini Challenge Cup car, which was insane, you know. Yeah, I mean, I got in the passenger seat and I got strapped in. In fact, I could, now I'm talking about it, I can still feel the bruising, and the guy strapped me in so tightly into this car, and I thought, what, you know, like, how much are you gonna strap me down? And 10 seconds later I was like, ah, that's why you're strapping me in that tight, because this thing's a full, you know, it's a full sort of, I guess you'd call it like a touring car equivalent. It's their little cup cars. I don't think they're stupidly powerful. I think they're about 250 brake, but obviously they're a lot lighter than any of their road going cars. I think they're about a ton, and you know, all the weights on the floor, they're dropped right down. Incredible sort of, I think the carbon ceramic brakes. So it handles and it stops like you hit a brick wall. It's unbelievable, and that's, you know, that, and it's handling, the G-forces that you get in that car are amazing. It accelerates reasonably hard, up to, I'd say, maybe about 100 miles an hour, and then it flattens off because, you know, obviously the aerodynamics of the car. It's also not geared to, the one we were in wasn't geared to sort of go more than, I'm estimating, because there was no speedo in it, but it didn't feel like we went more than about 120 miles an hour. Took out a really varied few cars. So I went out firstly in the current Mini John Cooper Works, and I know that's a fantastic car. I know the previous one was. They always are. They're just fantastic. You know, they're a riot. They're just brilliant fun, very good value. I'm sure on bigger tracks, maybe like Silverstone or something with really long straights and very wide tarmac, they might get a bit lost and feel a little bit underpowered. But certainly on a track like Goodwood, it's not the widest of tarmac, and there are a few sort of technical bits there. It looks very basic on a map, but it's actually not. There's a few technical little tricks around that track. So being in the Mini, especially starting in the Mini, you know, I hadn't been out on track for a while, and it does take a while to get used to the sort of speeds that you can push these cars to. It's kind of readjusting your brain and everything, and your right foot. You know, you're used to slamming your foot down on the accelerator maybe, but you're not used to using the brakes to the potential or the ferocity that you can on a track, and you should and you need to on a track. So something like that Mini was perfect. I did 4 hot laps. They were really good. Bit understeery, and I have experienced that in one on the road as well. They're a bit safe.
Yeah, when you're ready. So yeah, leave it in third here, just kind of take it all the way up. Yeah, that's it. Then you just kind of lift here, don't need too much brake, kind of let it roll in, just get your lines right, and that's it. That's good. Then up, that's it. Turn back on the throttle mid corner. It's a bit drier in the middle now. And hard on the brakes, down to 4th gear here. Turning in. So we just stay in this gear now all the way into here. So you're braking hard, off the brake, then turn. Still greasy in the middle there, yeah. Yeah, and then hard on the brakes, third. Get the nose in, and then let it run out here. Up to 4th gear again here. turning here, wait for it, and then go, that's it. And then hard on the brakes, third again. Understeer.
When you see it, when you start pushing, it's like, my mate's got one of these, and I did take it for a rally drive once, and I did. The one thing it does suffer from is it does. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, it's just, just ready for us.
With all the traction controls off, I suppose it balances out a bit more, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it balances it out a little bit because it's dry and greasy. You're kind of going from dry to wet, so the grip level's changing. So generally it'll understeer a little bit more, and that's kind of the same with all of them. Generally speaking.
Just for safety.
Yeah.
I then jumped into. I did one lap in the challenge Mini John Cooper Works, is that what it's called? Anyway, the challenge, the limited edition one, where they've cupped 2 tyres on, the rubber's slightly wider, and instantly that car, aside from all the the trick suspension setup, that car was much better. It had a much better turn in, it didn't suffer from understeer as much. But the basic John Cooper Works was amazing and loads of fun. Went from that to the i8. Now, I was lucky enough to have an i8 very recently, which I did a video on. And I loved it, absolutely enjoyed it on the road, thought it was fantastic. But I thought on the track it might be a bit out of its depth. On the track you do push that car beyond its limits, and I just thought the i8 would suffer a bit out there, but I was completely wrong. One thing it did suffer from was you couldn't do more than a couple of flying laps without having to sort of regenerate and recharge some of the battery back, because on the track you're either full power pretty much or you're off it. After a few laps it does lose its full battery charge, so then you do lack all of a sudden some of its full power. But on a flying lap, it's very, very impressive, managing to sort of the pace it's got, and the 4-wheel drive grip it's got, and the balance it's got. Okay, it's not an oversteery weapon, it's not your typical sort of M3, but it's just beautifully balanced. You pitch it into a corner, it turns in very nicely, considering the front tyres are 215 section, turns in extremely nice in. On top of all of that, I tried some of the M cars after this, but compared to all the cars I tried on that track day, what it did best, I thought, was change direction. There's a sort of almost off camber right into quite a sharp left, and you're on the brakes as you're going in as well. You're kind of losing, so the change of direction is quite severe. The Mini, you certainly felt it moving around a lot, but in the i8 it was just because you're sitting so low, and although it's not a light car, all the batteries are on the floor, all the weight is down low, so change of direction was fantastic in that car. So I was very surprised by that. I was very impressed by the i8. I really was. I thought it was a fantastic car off on the road, and I thought it was an equally good car on the track. I was very, very, very surprised.
Yeah, so it's off at the moment. Yeah, it's on now.
Yeah,
so
that's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, straight. You're all clear from the left, so it'll be in electric mode when you do set off. So just a Mini here. If you want, just flick it across.
Yeah.
So that's you in. You can use the paddles now. You can use the paddles in normal comfort as well. Just trying to do basically is you get all your braking done before you turn in, so you're not coming in too quick, because the first thing, that's perfect,
yeah.
That's all right. The first thing people do is they try and carry speed into the corner, and then middle of the corner you're kind of sorting the car out.
Yep.
And then as a result, then you're later on the throttle. So
right.
you gain on the entry, but then you're
losing the whole straight
all of that
and everything.
Onto the straight, exactly. So you've got to kind of brake, kind of stop the car almost, turn it or rotate it as we call it.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that bit, it's out of the way with. So then you can get the steering lock off and back on the power. So you're not in the corner still fighting the wheel. You know, you're still putting lock on, or you're trying to catch the slide or something like that.
Yeah.
Because all the time you're doing that, you're still off the power.
Sure.
So then you're waiting, and then
yeah.
you're on the power later on out the corner, and then all of that time you gained, you've lost more on the exit than you've gained on the entry. So it's kind of that trade-off.
Yeah. The next car I tried was an M3 competition package, and it was what I chose. It was a beautiful sort of Yas Marina blue. It's probably the M3 that I would have, although I don't know, there's some really nice of the newer colours that have come out, like the Ferrari red and that beautiful grey one and various others. So anyway, I got in this car and I knew I'd like it, and oh, what a weapon it was, absolute rocket ship. And yeah, getting out of the i8 and into that, there was a noticeable speed power difference. And this one had the carbon ceramic brakes, so it slowed down a lot harder. It was, it was a serious car. It's an M car, and M cars should be able to jump on a track and perform, and that's exactly what it did. It jumped on the track and it performed. And sound, I mean, we've talked about this in my M2 video, the people going about the sound being bad in the M3 and the M4s and stuff, but I don't think it's too bad, and I don't know if they've tweaked it in the competition pack or if it's a different exhaust. I should know all this, but it does, to me, it does sound that little bit better. And out there on the track, especially with the carbon ceramics, I mean, it was in its, it was in its element. It wasn't just me in my element. The car was also in its element. For instance, the long back straight in the John Cooper works, I was doing 120 along the long back straight there before the final right-hander, or the double right-hander. In the i8, I was doing about just over 130, 132 I think I saw. Now in the M3 competition pack, I saw 144. I was braking in the same place, if not a bit later in the M3 than I was in the i8. And the i8 I was going, what, 12, 13 miles an hour slower, which doesn't sound like much, but it is when you're going that sort of speed. As a track tool, the M3 was really awesome, and I loved it. And I was really allowed to push it. And when I look back on some of my video footage and I just see how fast I was going, it's crazy that you can actually just turn up and do that, with an instructor next to you, especially on a circuit like Goodwood. What I will stress about Goodwood, as a fairly competent driver, is just, don't take liberties there, because the problem with that circuit is the tarmac is not the widest, and it certainly becomes narrower when you're doing 140 miles an hour, and there's no runoff anywhere. It's just grass, and it's mostly a right-hand circuit, and there's grass. There's 10 meters of grass on your left in most places. Have fun out there, but don't take, don't ruin your day by pushing the car too much and ending up in a hedge or on its roof, or there's no enjoyment in that. So build your pace up and listen to the instructors, because like I said, the instructors are great. They're not nannies. They're not like having your mum in the car. They are there to give you better driving techniques and get you around that lap faster than when you turned up, even if you do think you're Michael Schumacher or Lewis Hamilton or whatever you think you are. So listen to these guys, build your pace up, but have fun.
Corner up. That's it. Down one again, just help get the nose in. That's it. Short shift out probably help the traction, it'll kind of take it away from you a little bit.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, there's nothing.
And then it will just fire you out once you get out here. Once you take the lock off, it will just help it release.
Sure.
Because all the while you've got the lock on, the traction's kind of hold you back. Once you can get it straightened up, it will release here. Keep going. Yeah, so roll off the brake now. That's it. Kind of let it run out again like before.
Let's get this nice and late this time.
Change up here, that'll help it release and take the traction away from you. It'll just help it pick up and accelerate. So here, just lift off, turn, back on the throttle, and then brake it down. One more, I guess, that's it. I'm imagining on the exit here, he might do what he did the last time for you, maybe. Yep, he's letting you go. Down one, that's it. Turn it in. That's it.
Short shift here.
Take it in 2 parts, yeah, that's it. And then straighten the wheel up, just aim it for the sun. That's
Oh
it.
yeah, then the power just feeds in, yeah.
Surges on there.
120, 130,
Bills.
140.
Hard on the brakes here. Hard. Hold it, out to there. Off the brake, let it roll. And then straighten the wheel up on the exit, just help it go. Hard on the brake again. Down one. There we go.
Sorry about that.
That's alright. You held on to it, so that's the main thing. There we go.
Amazing, thanks man.
Well done, mate, you're welcome.
Cheers.